when I first got started and these medical doctors would reach out to me, it first of all shocked me because I was like, okay, wait a second. But then almost immediately I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense because you're smart enough person to go through medical school. And then you have a bit of common sense that clicks in and you go, I know what these treatments do to my patients, and my spouse or myself or a family member, someone I love just got this, and I don't want to give them these things.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired Conversation. And it's been too long, since we've done a Secret World of Herbs show with our dear friend, the founder of Barlow Herbal, Jane Barlow. It's good to have you back, my friend.
Hey, John, it's good to see you too. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Always two thumbs up.
Always two thumbs up.
Always.
Jane, you and I and Christine, and we often talk about how we can help people and what works. And, it's the season that many people associate with colds and flus and other stuff. And you surprised me today. You said, I want to talk about exotic herbs, 3 exotic herbs that are kind of rainforesty herbs. Yeah. And a bonus herb that we're going to talk about later that's actually super, super exciting. But why exotic herbs and what's so special about them?
Well, I think that we get really familiar with herbs like echinacea and lemon balm and chamomile. Most of us are really used to those kind of herbs, and I believe it's really easy to trust them, which is great. Who doesn't trust echinacea? It's been around forever. It's used liberally, but there's herbs that we have access to because of the beautiful world we live in, where things can be shared across cultures and from different continents. And this is kind of what I wanted to share, because the ones I want to talk about today are 3 that my dad studied extensively. So because of that, I've had them in my herbal arsenal for my whole adult life. And these are herbs that, like you said, rainforest herbs, herbs that feel a little bit exotic, but these are powerful healers that we are lucky enough to have access to, information to. And the cool thing is that there's a lot of ancient wisdom behind these herbs, like hundreds of years in ancient texts. And if you look back at all the things that these things are being used and studied for with the shamans, the indigenous people, the generations of wisdom keepers for herbs. Well, now in the last probably 50 years, and even more in the last 20, modern science is finally catching up. And what I think is interesting is a lot of people don't want to trust an herb until the modern science tells them to trust it.
I'm the other way around.
Yeah, me too.
If mainstream starts to push something, I'm like, but you said something interesting, made me think is, yeah, like you say, chamomile, who distrusts chamomile,
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, sure. But then we hear another name that we aren't as familiar with and we go, oh, that sounds weird, but that's just familiarity. You're so right about that. So which one of the 3, which one's your favorite? Which one's most versatile?
I would say cat's claw is the most versatile. It comes from Peru, and it's the inner bark of the cat's claw tree. It's also known as una de gato, which is cat's claw in Portuguese. And it's just one of those plants it's really good for inflammation. You think of all the things that inflammation causes in our body and the problems. Like when I had a big knee surgery 3 years ago, and that was the main herb I used for inflammation and pain. And it's when it's in tincture form, which is my favorite way to take a lot of herbs, it goes right to the bloodstream and it acts really fast. In fact, over the years, I've had people tell me that have, close friends, family members, if there's a little bit of arthritis happening, and I say, hey, all you need is some cat's claw. And they're like, well, how long is it going to take? It's going to take a couple weeks, it's going to take a month before I feel it. And it's like, no, you'll feel it on the first day you take it. And that is the beauty of some of these herbs, especially when they are in liquid form. Nothing has to break down, nothing has to digest. They go right to your bloodstream and they go right to work where there's inflammation. So cat's claw, inflammation, pain, and then one of my very favorites is it's got powerful antioxidant properties, which mean it's good for preventing cancer from and to me, prevention is a lot easier than trying to cure it once you get it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when you say it's an exotic plant that grows in a rainforest, is there what are ways to get it? Obviously, you have it in your tinctures. Is
Yeah.
there a specific one where it's highly concentrated?
Well, so we make a single tincture of it that we call Una de Gato, and then we have it in an antiviral blend called Pivot 8. And then I also have it in a daily blend called Daily Vitality that is good just for daily use. It's got other herbs in it too. But this, you can also get it in capsule form from other places. I don't sell it in capsule form, but that's okay if people love capsules, they can do that. Cat's claw tea is a little bit less common, but it is available if you can find a good source for it. But it's the inner bark of the cat's claw vine. So it grows underneath like the rainforest foliage. So underneath the trees, it's got these beautiful flowers, and it's such a cool thing. And it's got these little hooks on it that it grabs a hold as it grows. And that's how it got its name is cat. It looks like a cat's claw, literally. Very sharp.
Can you cultivate it in our climate zones?
You can cultivate it in places like Florida, where there's like a certain amount of humidity. In fact, I have a couple of customers that live in Florida and some that live in parts of Texas where the climate is right. And they say it grows wild. In fact, I have a good friend in New Orleans who say it grows wild in like empty lots and in different, like an old house that maybe is overgrown with stuff. There's a ton of cat's claw. So like where I live in Utah, you can't grow it. Now, I could grow it if I had a hot house, and I had the right environment because it likes humidity. It won't survive like a cold winter. It needs to have the warmth, and I think above 60 degrees Fahrenheit is where it will thrive.
Fantastic. What's your number 2 on the list?
So number 2 is Pau d'Arco, which is really, really amazing. I think this is probably a little bit more common. This is Brazil is where this grows a lot. And this is actually a tree. In fact, the cool thing about Pau d'Arco is that it is so resilient that a Pau d'Arco tree the wood of it is not subject to mold or pests, or you could have a tree that grows and nothing will touch it. So they used to make bows out of it, like for bow and arrows. And it is the bark. It's the bark, the inner bark of the tree, just like the inner bark of the cat's claw, but you use the inner bark of the Pau d'Arco tree. But this is one of the most powerful anti-candida herbs that you can get. And I do have that in tincture form, but I love it in a tea because it's so good and so earthy. And if, you have a little tiny bit of a sweet tooth, drinking Pau d'Arco tea can kind of help combat that bit of candida that your body.
I was going to say, the sweet tooth is a candida thing, right?
Yes, it is. Even fruit, you might eat too much. I can't even eat a whole lot of fruit sugar because it's such a natural state for, if you get a little bit of stress, your immune system gets a little bit lowered, you maybe just eat a little bit too much sugar. And it could be things like, there could be vegetables like corn and sweet potatoes and things like bread and pasta that turns into sugar in your body. So having something like Pau d'Arco tea, or maybe you love doing tinctures that you can just drink down quickly, is really, really a nice way to combat that. But what I also love is Pau d'Arco is really, really well studied for the herpes virus. And there's tons of studies you could look up online. It's also really good for Lyme disease because of its antiviral, antibacterial properties and the way that it, if you think about the Lyme spirochete and it mutates into the different co-infections, Pau d'Arco is one of those herbs that many, not just natural practitioners, but even many medical doctors are starting to realize because their patients are going in and they're like, hey, I found this and I looked this up. What do you think about this? And so I think a lot of modern medical doctors now are kind of being forced to look into some of these things because their patients are bringing it to them. So,
Or like in your case, I know you're not naming names. Doctors order from you for themselves and their families and
yeah,
prescribe the other stuff to their patients.
that's been happening for a couple of decades now, and my dad had a lot of probably mostly natural doctors, but he was friends and he did some collaboration with some medical doctors as well. And I didn't really pay attention to it that much when my dad was alive. And I was off I had another career. I, did other things. But when I first got started and these medical doctors would reach out to me, it first of all shocked me because I was like, okay, wait a second. But then almost immediately I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense because you're smart enough person to go through medical school. And then you have a bit of common sense that clicks in and you go, I know what these treatments do to my patients, and my spouse or myself or a family member, someone I love just got this, and I don't want to give them these things.
Yeah,
And so through the grapevine, it's crazy, right?
yeah, on a human, here's the thing. I get it. People go through medical school and they pay a lot of money for their education and whatnot, and then all this other stuff comes in. But at some point, you got to say, I need to walk with the truth here, right? And that's just, but that's a side note. So in where do you use it in your tinctures?
So I have it as a single, just like the cat's claws, just Ada Arco as a single.
I gotta show you something. This is usually you can't get these usually, right?
Okay, are you really going to bring that out? That's awesome.
This is Brain Glow. You know why it's here? There's no show that I do without Brain Glow. There's
Yes.
no
So,
show that I do without Brain Glow. I'm just saying. And I
no,
get
I
the big
actually
bottle.
love that because that's the size that I give to my siblings. Is I give that 6 because it only comes in a 2 and a 4, but I'm like, okay, General, and I'm adopting you as my brother. You get a 16 ounce, but yes, I'm the same.
I love this bottle, and it's showtime. What's the third exotic herb today?
So the third one is a beautiful, beautiful root called Suma. So Suma. Suma is also from Brazil, and the botanical name is Pfaffia paniculata, which we actually call it Pfaffia, which starts with a P. And we do make a tincture of it. It's in our Daily Vitality. It's in a couple of other things. But the cool thing about Suma is, and the reason I say it's a little bit exotic is because people are really interested the last couple of decades, maybe especially in the last probably 5 years, on what are some natural adaptogens? What are things that can, right, help balance my body chemistry? Because we live in a modern world of so much stress that we believe that that's our normal. People don't think they're stressed, but because that's their normal. But when they bring their body into homeostasis and realize, oh, this is just modern stress. I'm not running from a tiger. They realize that, oh, this is a really nice place to be. So Suma brings your body into homeostasis. It balances your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. But my favorite thing about it is what it does for your hormonal balance. So from my experience, for where I'm at in my life as a woman, the age I'm at, and I used Suma extensively as I was going through menopause, because you think about what your hormones are doing. And from my own experience, if there's lower estrogen, lower testosterone, and for me, I even had low progesterone, Suma helped me bring those levels back up. And I've had people with too high of a hormone, they get it tested, they'll go get a hormone panel, and then it will help to balance that it'll bring it down.
So it's a natural regulator. It helps you
Yes.
regulate. Oh, okay.
That's from my own personal experience and things I've seen.
And what about for men? Because you mentioned testosterone too.
Same,
Same thing.
same. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so where's Suma in your products?
So we have a single that's called a Pfaffia, which is Pfaffia. So that my dad named it that. That's a single tincture of Suma. And then it's also in our Daily Vitality. Yeah.
And then Jane, you brought up a bonus, one of your favorites. And
Yes.
we reached out to you because a dear friend of ours is having some severe health challenges, and you said, aside from everything else, I'm going to send her some Venus Flytrap. And people have heard this name before, and it sounds like and people think it's just a fly eating plant, but what's the real amazing properties that the Venus flytrap has?
So if you think about a Venus flytrap, it's carnivorous. So it'll catch insects and it literally has digestive juices. So in fact, a doctor customer of mine up in Idaho just this week sent me this little video of a Venus flytrap wide open and a black widow spider crawls around I'll send it to you. It's the coolest video. Crawls around and plays around inside of the flytrap, and then the flytrap closes. And
Damn.
it's the coolest little video. But here's the thing about the Venus flytrap and its medicinal properties. If you think about it, the fact that it can digest and break down something like these insects. Well, if you take, and this was one of the favorite things that my dad, I loved it when he would get a fresh batch of plants in, because you have to overnight the plants and then they need to go right into the solution, the alcohol, so it can, while all the digestive juices are still alive. So some plants will go in to the alcohol when they're dried, and some will go in. This has to go in while all those enzymes and all those digestive juices are still at their highest. And then what happens is, then once the extract is done and it's filtered, then those same digestive juices go after any abnormal tumor activity. So think about an abnormal growth. Now, this is something we don't have access to anymore. We lost both of our growers during 2020. They both went out of business during COVID, which was super sad. One of them has taken back up the son of one of them, and I was able to get a very small batch that I made for my family. So that was what I was able to get for your friend. So.
And you said that it's just also on top of everything, there's a really strong feeling of just wellness, well-being that people experience.
Yeah, I mean, I am lucky enough that because, and I don't have it all the time since 2020, but what I try to do is go through a bottle, like a 4-ounce bottle, once a year, because it's got a lot of immune boosting properties. It gives you an overwhelming sense of well-being, and it really nourishes your thyroid, which is something that one of the doctors that has been buying from us for 25 years, he recognized this in some of his patients, that he was using it for other things. Their thyroid issues would clear up, whether hypo or hyperthyroid, which was really fascinating. So it appears to really nourish your thyroid. And it's just I know when I take it, I just have this overwhelming sense of well-being. It's really, really fascinating.
I love that, Jane. I love that you always empower people. You come out, you always share so much knowledge. We love your book, Be Your Own Shaman. If you don't have it, folks, go to your bookstore, go to your Barnes and Noble, go to your other bookstores, find it. It's, in my opinion, a standard. It's a classic, should be on every bookshelf, and most importantly, should be in your hands. But Jane, other than that, where can people find you? Where do you share with folks on the socials, and where can they find, your products as well?
So barlowherbal.com, super easy. Barlow Herbal on YouTube, and I'm also on Rumble, and then Instagram, Barlow Herbal. So super easy, super easy.
Damn, she got all the same names on all platforms. I envy you so much for that.
Yeah, well, try
Jane,
to keep it easy.
thanks for coming on. Thank you for always bringing the goods, and so much loving knowledge for people out there. Love to hear about exotic herbs, and I can't wait for the next show. We got to do it sooner. We let too much
I
time pass,
agree.
but we
I
got to do it
agree.
sooner.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you. And Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. Please hop over to barlowherbal.com. Check it all out. Follow Jane on the socials. It's always inspiring to see what she shares. And we love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon.